What's up, guys? Welcome to Poor Man Mods. Today I'm going to show you how to lower and possibly level out the front of your Lexus ISF 250 or 350 using these spacers. What's up, guys? Welcome to Poor Man Mods. So today we're going to be lowering the front end of my 2008 ISF. From the factory, the front end sits like 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch higher than the rear, and I don't like it. There are some companies that sell rear spacers to lift the rear to level it out. I don't want to raise the car at all. I like the rear stance. I just wish the front was a little bit lower. And the lowering springs that are out there, I think lowered a little bit too much for my liking, and I don't want to do coilovers. So I tried to come up with a Poor Man Mods solution for this. And there are companies that sell RCAs, or roll center adjusters, which are basically spacers that go on top of the ball joint, which effectively lower the car. Well, the smallest one that I found is a 20 millimeter, and the company charged like $180 for this 20 millimeter spacer that'll drop the front 20 millimeters. And that was way too much money for not a whole lot of drop for me. So what I did is I made my own spacers. These are 5/8 of an inch or 16 millimeter, and I got 4 of these made for myself for right around 50 bucks. And what these are actually ball joints that I cut up and took the mounting plates off of them, and they're gonna work as spacers. So being that it's a 16 millimeter drop or 5/8 of an inch, I'm not sure if it will completely level the front, but it's gonna make it look a whole lot better. So today I'm gonna show you how to make these for way less than what these internet places are charging, and I'm gonna show you how to install them. So let's get to it. Alright, so measuring from the ground to the fender, the rear is right around 26 inches. And doing the same measurement from the front, it's about 26 7/8. So just over 3/4 of an inch higher in the front than the rear. My spacer should drop at 5/8 of an inch, so it won't completely level it, but it should make the gap look a lot better. Alright, so here is the deal. I look extremely white in this shot. Good Lord. I am pacey, but this black tank top and the lighting makes me look like I'm a ghost. Sorry about that. But here's what's going on. So there's a couple ways you could go about doing this. If you're going to do this Poor Man Mod method and make your own spacers, a couple ways you could do this. Some are cheaper than others, some are easier than others. I went the more expensive but easier route for this job. So what we're doing is taking an old ball joint off the ISF. You could probably use really any Lexus ball joint that a 14 millimeter bolt goes through. I went online and bought 2 of the cheapest ball joints that I could find for the ISF. And that's what I have here. And what we're doing, we're taking these mating surfaces off the ball joint. Because they have these little dowel pins there, they prevent it from sliding around. Now, some people might say you could do this job with spacers or washers. You probably could, but they're not gonna have the dowel pins in there, which I think is a really good safety feature. I wouldn't recommend doing just spacers or washers. I would try to at least do this method. So what we're doing, we're cutting these square pieces off of the ball joint. And I decided to buy really cheap ball joints and just cut them up. My car only has 55,000 miles, so I didn't think I needed to go out and buy good ball joints, put them on the car, take off my old ones and cut them up. I think the ones that are on there are fine. If it's not broken, don't fix it. So you could go on the forums or on Facebook and ask someone for their old ball joints and cut them up. You could go to a Lexus dealership and ask for some old ball joints and cut them up. Or you could upgrade your ones that you have right now, replace them, and cut up your old ones. A couple of different ways you could do this, but I just went and bought super cheap ones. These are like $20 a piece. So I'm just gonna cut these ones up and make the spacer. You can cut this with any method. You could use a Sawzall, bandsaw, grinder, cutoff wheel, whatever method you choose. Just to make this a little bit easier, I'm using a bandsaw here, but you can use any method to do this. This bandsaw just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so now we have our 16 millimeter spacer, and this is going to sit on top of the factory ball joint, the one that's currently on the car, and then this part will go in to the steering knuckle. But we have to make sure that this can actually fit on the original ball joint. So as you can see, this doesn't go on it because this little dowel right here will not fit in this hole. So what we need to do, to the underside of all of our spacers, we need to drill it out so these can nicely fit in there and not slide around and locks in place.
What you doing?
I'm gonna drill this out.
Oh, I can't wait to watch you drill this out.
Oh yeah, look at this fatty.
I need you to start it right now.
With your eyes right next to it?
Right about there, yeah.
Full speed?
Full speed.
Alright, so now it's drilled out. This dowel will fit in there just like the original ball joint would. And it's a nice fit, hardly any play. So this will be a lot safer than just washers. So now we can drill this one out and install them onto the car. Alright, now at this point you could call the job done, but this, you know, being rounded here and square here, it doesn't really look that good. So I'm going to try to clean it up by using a flap disc on my grinder. I'm going to try to make it a little bit more round, a little nicer looking, a little less half-assed, and then I will call it done and ready to install. You don't have to do this step, but I am. Alright, that's looking a little better. Just got to do this to the rest of them. You could do this a little bit more if you wanted to, or not do it at all, whatever. Looking good for me. Just got to do this to the rest of them, then we can install them. Alright, we're ready to install these spacers. Grab a 19mm socket and undo the 2 bolts that secure the ball joint to the steering knuckle. Okay, now lift up on the brake rotor, slide your spacers on. Alright, now you can reinstall the factory bolts. I'm going to put some Loctite on these. You do have plenty of threads with these still, but just to be safe, I'm going to put some Loctite on them. Oh, that was too much. And you can tighten the bolts. Make sure you torque them to right about there.
The German method.
Or the German method, which is good and tight. So what we effectively did here, we pushed the wheel and the knuckle up 5/16 of an inch or 16mm, or we dropped the ball joint 16mm. Either way, this should take away about 16mm of gap between the tire and the fender. So we'll do the other side, put the car on the ground, and see how it looks. Alright, let's see what the ride height is now. It is 26.25, so it dropped it right about, 5/8 of an inch, I guess. A little less than 3/4 of an inch. So the front is 26.25. Alright guys, there you go. So the front, after the spacers, is 26.25 inches tall from the ground to the top of the fender, and the rear is just under 26 from the ground to the top of the fender. So it's not perfectly level, but it looks a whole lot better than it did. Looking at it, you would think it's level, and I'm completely happy with it. It looks better than before, and I didn't have to put springs on it that are going to drop it too much. Didn't have to buy coilovers. Only spent like 40 bucks on this. I'm completely happy with it, and you didn't even need to change the hardware. If you wanted to go with a taller spacer or add washers, which I don't recommend, I would recommend getting longer bolts, but I'm just going to keep it the way it is right now. I'm perfectly happy with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something. I'll try to have links to these ball joints in the description down below if I can. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Thanks.